Hello, friends and family, and welcome back to our channel. I hope each of you are doing well. I am so excited to meet with you today to begin a brand new series. Yeah. And that series, my brothers and sisters, is going to be called Mental Health Is. Now look, I know, my brothers and sisters, you might be saying to yourself, haven't we already been talking about mental health? And the short answer is yes. But what we're going to be talking about in the next few episodes is going to be different from what we've learned so far. And I'm so excited. So if you're interested, stay tuned. And if you're ready, let's get into it. Welcome back to Choosing to Live Now. My name is Taneshia, and I'm so grateful that you decided to join our conversation today. Now, my brothers and sisters, listen. Over the last few months that we have been together as a community, you know that from the inception of this community, I shared with you, the goal of our community is to help us to live our best life now, regardless of what's going on in the world around us. And that is still our goal. However, we've talked a lot about the things that might impact our journey to being our best self, and we've really learned a lot of information about aspects that might impact our mental health. But my brothers and sisters, believe it or not, I've been getting these private messages from our community members that have been asking questions about mental health specifically because they may be struggling in their mental health and or people in their family are struggling and they wanted to know more about that content. And my brothers and sisters, you know what I realized? I realized that because I live and breathe mental health type conversations based on the fact of the type of work that I do, that I think that I assumed that our community had a general awareness of mental health in the way that I do. And that may not be the case. So we're going to take it back a couple notches and talk about what mental health actually is. And I would love to begin our discussion with a formal definition of what mental health is that comes from the World Health Organization. And here's what they say mental health is. Mental health is defined as a state of well-being in which an individual possesses an awareness of their own abilities, can cope with normal life stressors, and can work productively, and has the ability to make contributions to their community. In addition, they say that mental health also includes the ability to be able to think, to be able to feel, to be able to express emotion, as well as to engage in social interactions, my brothers and sisters. Now, I know that definition is large, but what it lets us know is that mental health is dynamic. What you mean, Taneshia? My brothers and my sisters, I mean that mental health is big. There's no way for us to define it as one aspect, which we always hear about. We hear people talking about two key components of mental health, mood and emotion. Yeah. And while mood and emotion are critical aspects of mental health, my brothers and sisters, they're not the only aspects of mental health that matter. Yeah. And so we're going to be talking about the different facets of mental health throughout this series to give you a better understanding of why mental health is so important. But if we just take this definition and break it down a little bit further, here are the key aspects that the World Health Organization is letting us know that what mental health allows us to be able to do. And here's what they say. Mental health allows us to have the ability as human beings to think. Another thing that they say is that it allows us to be able to have awareness of our thoughts. They share that mental health also is the ability to be able to manage stressful situations in a healthy manner. And then finally, mental health is the ability to manage our own behaviors. Yeah. So as you can see, this is not just an emotion and a mood. Mental health has the responsibility of managing our entire life. Yeah. So if you've ever met people in your life that have difficulties with being able to think, with being able to be aware of their own thoughts, who have difficulties with being able to manage daily stressors in a healthy, in a healthy way, or they have difficulties with managing their own behavior, they're struggling in a place of their mental health. Yeah. And I want you to really, my brothers and sisters, take this in. Because when you've been thinking about mental health, you really don't think about all of the pieces of what makes you do what you do on a daily basis. I think sometimes that you and I take for granted the very things that we put up with in our life that are sometimes not the easiest. And we often sometimes say comments like, my mental health is acting up, I'm challenged, without understanding that it is not that simple. One circumstance that we go through in our life cannot impact our mental health unless it was never properly healthy to begin with. It may have already been damaged. But a lot of times the damage that takes place in our mental health is under the surface, and we don't recognize it until we experience traumas in our life. Trauma is a big indicator of where our mental health is. And you want to know why? Here's why. Because when we experience traumatic events, there are these very, very difficult, heavy events that go on in our life that are overwhelming, that are difficult to get over rather. That's what a trauma is in a very simplistic way of putting it. When we go through trauma, if our mental health is in a proper state, my brothers and sisters, we will go through our normal human emotions around those traumas, but eventually we will be able to recover rather quickly and move on to a sense of normalcy, even if things have changed. But when there are weaknesses in our mental health and its stability, traumatic events can make our mental health decline extremely quickly, and we have difficulties overcoming certain issues. So if you can remember back in our earlier episodes when we talk about anxiety and we talk about fear a little bit, and we talk about depression and those aspects that come into our lives, a lot of times we speak about those as if they just come into our lives because of circumstances that we've gone through. But my brothers and sisters, typically these things do not occur suddenly. They occur over time under the current of our lives, where we do not properly work through the situations that we've gone through. We do not properly heal. It could be because we wanted to avoid it, or it could be because we have never gotten into a safe space in our lives where we're able to actually deal with the negative things we experienced early on. Or we feel like we're out of the woods. It's over now. Put it behind us. And I don't know about you, my brothers and sisters, but I grew up in a religious environment that told me to fake it until I make it. They told me to suck it up and not worry about what I was going through, because God was going to handle it. Not understanding the other part of the scriptures that say that we're supposed to come before God and confess everything that's going on with us so that God could come into our circumstances and help us in that same community. But there was a focus on the people in that community to overlook, not deal with their trauma, their pain, their situations, because there was a solution in our belief that was going to magically heal it without us dealing with it. And I don't know about you, my brothers and sisters. You may not have come from a religious background like me, but you may have come from a similar environment in your family and in your life where when bad things happen, people either didn't believe you when you told them what was going on for you, or they invalidated your experience, or they told you to suck it up, get over it, and move on. And as a result of years of using that type of coping mechanism for stressful situations, my brothers and sisters, guess what happens to us? We tend to, little by little, begin to weaken the stability of our mental health. And then it makes it much easier for major, massive challenges to come into our life, like trauma, trauma can come into our life that could cause depression and anxiety that we cannot easily overcome. Yeah. And so then as a result of that, our mental health then is not because of the trauma. Oh no, it's because of all these other things that we have done that were unhealthy along the road that got us to the place that we're in. And so mental health, my brothers and sisters, is so vitally important because it's not just dealing with the things that the World Health Organization is suggesting on a simple level. Our ability to be able to contribute to community, our ability to be able to socialize, our ability to be able, to think. Listen, all those things are absolutely true. And also, mental health is the stability of our daily activities. Yeah. What you saying, Taneshia? What I'm saying is, if you are working on your dream, your purpose, your destiny, your regular 9-to-5 job, raising children, being a partner, doing anything in life at all, it requires you and I to have a healthy state of mental well-being. Yeah. And what's happening is, the more that life increases for each of us, the more busy we become, the less concerned we are about taking care of ourselves when the signs that our mental health are in trouble show up. We won't talk about them today. We'll just mention the overview of the idea that occurs for us. Yeah. So we live these unhealthy lives every single day as it pertains to our mental health because we assume that it's fine. If I don't deal with it, it's still fine. I'm good. It's Gucci. It's straight. It's legit. Like everything's cool. I'm well. It's, all is copacetic. Whatever term you use. Everything is good is what we think it is until it isn't. And a lot of times by the time it isn't good any longer, we are so depleted from being mentally well that being mentally unstable takes us down 15 steps from all of the steps we've climbed to get to meeting our goals and being our best self. I'll give you an example. Have you ever heard of anyone having an experience of having a nervous breakdown? Have you ever heard any individual who has come out of that? Many of the people that give their story about coming out of a nervous breakdown talk about how they are never the same again from that experience, that they lost everything. There are even some people who have nervous breakdowns who do not ever recover. So when we're talking about mental health, and you might be saying to yourself, when people talk about things like, protect your peace and, have self-care and, think about your mental health and get some help. That's for the birds. It's for the birds, my brothers and sisters, until it isn't for the birds anymore. There are 3 critical areas that mental health covers in terms of our functionality as human beings that we're going to discuss over this series, and they are the following: our brain, our emotional well-being, and our behavior. And my brothers and sisters, if you think about that, those are central to who we are. If our brain is not functional, our whole body is shut down. If our emotions are not functional, our relational abilities are shut down. And if our behaviors are not functional, we are either locked in a hospital, locked in jail, or we are unable to provide for our families and do the things in life that we need to get done. Now are you getting what I'm saying about mental health being vitally important? So this is what we're going to be talking about in this series. And so here's what I want to say to you, my brothers and sisters, as I close. You are not alone. I am here with you. This is a community. And it's a safe space. I know things have been difficult, but we're going to get through this journey together. And as we go through this next few episodes talking about mental health, I want you to come to our conversations with an open mind, because we're going to be talking about some heavy stuff. But the goal is that you will recognize the value of taking care of you beyond what you have known before. Because if you're not your best you, how can you do the things that are important in your life to you? And how can you be around for the people that love you? It's time out for us pretending like mental health doesn't matter. It does. And we're going to walk through the journey of talking about each of the areas in mental health that matter. So as I close, here we are. What does mental health help us to be able to do? It helps us to be able to think, to have awareness of our thoughts. It gives us the ability to manage stressful situations in a healthy manner. It gives us the ability to manage our own behaviors. And here's something else to remember, that there are 4 threats to mental health that we will uncover in the days to come. You ready for them? There are individual threats, there are social threats, there are economic threats, and there are environmental threats. Yeah. So I want to be clear with you. Just because I'm telling you to value and manage your own mental health doesn't mean that there are things that there are not things that are outside of you that could make it difficult for you to do those things. And we're going to walk through the journey. As we talk about each of them, we're going to walk through the journey, my brothers and sisters, with strategies to be able to help us to facilitate some of those difficulties that are threats to our overall mental health. All right, my brothers and sisters, if you like the content on this channel and if you're excited about this series, please like, comment, and share. And please subscribe. There's going to be some valuable information that is provided here that we want you to use to help you and those in your family. Okay, my brothers and sisters, until next time, blessings to you today, my friends. Just in case you weren't sure.